And welcome back to Sports on Tap, live from Studio J in Brunswick, Ohio. I'm Rob Sean. We have Ed Dick, Sean Duffy, Josh Jeffy. And we've all took a little bit of rest.
Yep.
Which we usually don't do. We come back stronger than ever for our next segment, which is
it's marathon.
Browns
Today's
football.
been a sprint. Yeah.
And it's the draft is a week and a day away.
8 days away.
So it's going to get here quick. And, I think we're all probably ready for the draft just to happen already because there's everybody's mock draft. I think we're on mock draft, 27 and a half at this point.
512.
So we'll talk a little Browns football, and it's really interesting to see all the different mock drafts and how they've changed and how some have stayed the same from what the Browns are going to do. But, guys, the Browns won one game last year. It was a tough season. But overall, looking at what they did so far this offseason, they needed some offensive linemen, some veterans to really stabilize that offensive line. What do you guys think first with the offseason moves thus far? Terrell Pryor is gone, which to me stinks, but, they did try to sign him. And instead he went to the Washington Redskins.
For less money and less years guaranteed. So
what do you guys think of some of the offseason moves with this Browns team? Who wants to start? We'll go with Josh Jeffy, who looks like he's thinking and ready to speak.
Turn your mic on.
Bad job out of me. I still turned it off from me going off on the Cavs. But, no, the Browns, first and foremost, had the most money to spend in the NFL, and they were very aggressive in doing it. First by re-signing Jamie Collins, and then they re-signed the guard.
Antonio.
Thank you.
They extended him.
Yeah, they extended him. Gave him a big extension for that matter. Then they went out and signed, some would say, the best guard out there in the free agency market. And then they got a veteran center who, can really be a really key contributor. We all know center was a weakness, position of weakness last year. So if Redder is healthy, Treader, excuse me. I knew it sounded
and he was the best. I mean, he was Green Bay's starting center for a long time until he got hurt. He was a pretty durable guy for a pretty long time.
Yeah, health is a big issue with him, and same with Batonio. But they've really solidified their offensive line. They improved it. Yeah. Now, a lot of people say what they do in free agency is kind of an indicator of what they'll do in the draft. So they went mostly offense. They lose Terrell Pryor, but they signed Kenny Britt, who is a serviceable veteran wide receiver out there, can provide some good things. Maybe not to the level what Terrell Pryor did, but we'll have to wait and see. The key position they still haven't really made any kind of quarrels about is the quarterback position. I mean, they did make kind of a stunning, shocking move when acquiring Brock Osweiler in a second-round pick for basically $16 million. So that that'll be left to be seen where that will end up, whether or not he's still on the team come training camp time. Some people now are saying, Sashi Brown says he'll get a chance to compete. Others, me being one of them, doesn't think he will be on the roster by that time. So it's going to be interesting to see. I like what the Browns have done so far. They're very aggressive in free agency. They went out, they tried to sign a safety. That safety went on to sign with Baltimore, but the Browns made an aggressive move. Actually, more money was offered to them. So they're trying to get better with having then a lot of assets in the upcoming draft. So I like it so far. Pretty much anything they can do would be an improvement as what they did last year during this time. So we'll have to just wait and see. So far, I like it.
Well, with the signing of guard Kevin Zeitler from Cincinnati, not only do you solidify your offensive line, but you also weaken a division rival. And you have to know that Hugh Jackson had his eyes on on getting him on the team as soon as he was able to hit free agency, and he falls into that category where the analytic folks do want to give you the money. Mm-hmm. They're on their second contract. They're in their prime of their careers, and they're in their mid to late 20s, and as a guard, you see how good Joe Thomas has done over the last 10 years. Offensive linemen, if you get one and they stay durable, they become a very, very good investment. And I think you have one in Kevin Zeitler J.C. Treader from Green Bay, same thing. Hopefully he can stay healthy and really solidify the center spot. That was a big point of contention last year. Alex McLaughlin at free agency, you tried filling it with Cam Irving. That didn't work out very well. Austin Ryder played like one half with the Browns, and then they looked like a pretty competent running team against Washington there for a minute, and then he got hurt, and then we were back in this vicious cycle. So it's never a bad thing to take the offensive line and put the money there, because you could always that's how you keep your quarterbacks healthy. And none of your skill guys, or more importantly, the quarterback that we're still trying to find, they can't do anything without having a good offensive line in front of them. So hats off to the Browns for starting off there.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing that I look at when I look at the free agency pickups, I'm saying, okay, what kind of is it good money spent? And I think overall it is. I didn't see anybody that I questioned, and everyone's like, well, what about Kenny Britt? Kenny Britt is essentially where Terrell Pryor is right now as a wide receiver. Kenny Britt is a seasoned wide receiver that's played the position in the pro level at a pretty good rate over the last, 6-7 years, whereas Terrell Pryor literally has started 1 or 2 years as a starting receiver, still learning the craft, and turned down more money from the Browns to go play for the Redskins. Now, granted, their quarterback situation is a little bit more stable.
Better.
Stable. I would say stable.
I would say better.
Yeah, better, yeah. And their offensive line is probably better, and their running game is pretty good. So, yeah, maybe he has a better opportunity to show out, but, there's nothing that the Browns have done in the free agency realm of this offseason that's been like, what are you doing? Why are you spending that money? Like, I was excited that they went after that safety that went to Baltimore. I was like, wow, if they can get him, plus all these linemen, plus re-signing Collins, with a guy like Greg Williams running that defense, and the potential to get a game-changing player in the draft with the first pick, hint, hint, that's a pretty good offseason for a team that's really in their first full year as the front office. I mean, that's one thing we have to remember, that this front office was put together roughly 100 days before last year's draft. So the jury is still out on what that draft will, yield. Now, Corey Coleman's still kind of a different, is a holdover. I think we can all agree that Carl Nassib, when he was healthy, made an impact. Emmanuel Ogbah made an impact. A lot of these guys made impact, and that's great. That's what you want. Obviously, with that short amount of time to review players and act as the front office of this franchise, they made some pretty good picks. Hopefully that translates into creating good picks this year with a lot more, fanfare. I think we're seeing a lot more premier picks, and I think we're going to get an opportunity to bid and pick some really top tier talent in the first 2 rounds. Is basically 2 years worth of drafts, I think.
Yeah, I mean, they're not going to pick, use all their picks probably this year, but I think in that first few rounds they really need to, especially that first pick. How many times have the Browns traded down? This year, I think it's almost a for sure thing of what the Browns are going to do. If you look at the Browns' defense, I mean, like you said, signing Jamie Collins. Look at the linebackers, though. Christian Kirksey's another guy who's a solid linebacker for them, and then you look up front. I mean, it's not really bad. I mean, even Jamie Meter, who's a local guy, comes off the bench and plays well.
Single-handedly won us our game. Our one and only game.
Yeah, by blocking the kick. But, I mean, you look up front, Ogbah had a really good season. I think if you have him, and then you also had Nassib, who didn't play bad, Danny Shelton, and then you put another guy that's going to rush the quarterback. Our corners wouldn't have been so bad, I think, last year if the quarterbacks didn't have all day to throw. I think that was a problem, getting pressure on the quarterback where your corners aren't on an island for 10 minutes trying to stop a wide receiver from getting open, because eventually they're going to get open. I mean, that's just what happens.
That's the result of just a completely inadequate defensive scheme in the NFL, is a 3-4 defense unless you have just rock solid outside linebackers, and we didn't last year. Emmanuel Ogbah was a solid outside linebacker, but now he can truly play a linebacker position in a 4-3, which is what Greg Williams brings to the table. It's a 4-3 scheme. It allows you to have 2 big guys up front, which means you can have, which is when you're in the draft, you can identify defensive linemen that can make a difference. I mean, look, I'm no defensive genius, but I know if you have 4 defensive linemen that are down and 2 on the edge, your defensive ends are your edge rushers and your 2 interior tackles, it takes a lot of pressure off Danny Shelton, who was basically brought in to play the nose tackle position like a Vince Wilfork, and he's just not that right now in his career. He's just not. And the Browns were terrible against the run because they're only lining up 3 defensive tackles at one point, rotating them in, and then hoping that the outside linebackers are fast enough to get to the running backs, and that's just not the way it was. I mean, the Cincinnati Bengals running backs had a field day against a 3-4. Same thing with Le'Veon Bell, who won me my fantasy football championship. And
what a lucky
I'm
son.
sorry, did he? Did I hear something?
And Justin,
I'm getting a lot of feedback.
Yeah,
and Justin
me too. I don't know
Forsett
what
from our defense made Justin Forsett, who had a really good year last year, look like an all-star in those games. So I mean, it's the defensive scheme was mismatched, and I think Greg Williams being hired is just
that's a big time hire.
It's a great hire, and he's already brought that edge to the defense, which I love. He doesn't.
And he's gonna make him play hard. You know, Jamar Taylor was a corner last year that I thought actually had a really good year for our corners. You know, Joe Hayden. I always think he kind of struggled more as he's gone year in and year out. But what are you going to do? I think he's still a veteran that can get better and better if he's in the right situation. And I think Greg Williams is definitely the right guy for the job. But what do you guys think in the draft? We talk a little bit about the team now. Let's go to the draft. The Browns have the number 1 pick. Is everybody think that the Browns are going to just select Garrett with number 1 and number 12? I guess is still going to be up in the air with
I think
what do you think they're doing?
I think they got to take Myles Garrett first. I don't see any reason to force the issue at a quarterback at number 1. Take the best player on the board, and I have no problem with that guy being the number 1 pick for the Browns.
Yeah, help the defense.
I saw a picture of both Emmanuel Ogbah and then Myles Garrett, working out. And admittedly, their shirts are off and they just look like freaking monsters. And it's like, yeah, I think I want that on opposite sides trying to rush the quarterback. So his workout at the combine was phenomenal. He's got a couple knocks on him from his college days, but the same knocks against Jadeveon Clowney, that didn't seem to bother him too much. He seems to be doing all right for himself. He made the Pro Bowl in his second year.
Second true year, yeah.
Correct. Second full season, I guess, for lack of a better term. So I think Myles Garrett's the pick, and it's not even close.
I'm going to go ahead and agree with you guys on that one. When you have the first pick in the draft, it's really you take, regardless of position, the best player in the draft. And no matter if you have guys already at that position, you make room for him.
Yep.
You can't pass up talent. And the Browns, even though we all know they're desperate for a quarterback, they need to get Myles Garrett. If he is the consensus with most NFL execs and mock draft people and people who do this for a living, if he's the consensus, then I'll go ahead and say he's the consensus, and that should be the pick for the Browns.
So at 12, do the Browns trade 12 and another pick to get back in the top 10, or do you think they stay at 12 and just pick the best available, whether it's a quarterback they feel could be a franchise guy, or do they go defense again, maybe a corner position or a safety position, which there's a lot of good safeties, I feel like, in the top 10. Could be Hooker. Adams, I don't think is going to be there from LSU. That guy is a beast.
He's skyrocketing up the boards right now.
Some people have him as a top 3 guy in this draft.
They have people trading up to get him. I'm talking like teams that are trading from like mid-20s up to 2 or to 3 to get that guy at LSU, Adams, because he's that good. Because of the Malik Hooker situation, his injury situation is a little bit up in the air, but I still say he's going to be a phenomenal player. Josh, sorry, I cut you right off there.
That's okay. Because I am not truly 100% convinced that the Jimmy Garoppolo deal is done.
Oh my God!
Oh no! Here it is.
Where's why I think
Ladies and gentlemen.
And granted, this is the quarterback that I want for the Browns.
Mr. Robert Kraft.
I don't want to go into the season with a rookie. But I think
you're not going to have to.
I think it's
Cody Kessler.
Cody Kessler, I know.
And Brock
I
Ossie.
still think it's up there because plenty of things could happen between now and draft night. If draft night, if the guy is on the board that the Patriots have number 1 on their board or top of their board, and he's still up there, and the Browns call and say, "Hey, we'll give you number 12," it could be up. Not say it's going to happen. Not say it's going to happen at all. But I think before anything, this number 12 pick is going to try to be on the move, if anything. Whether it's to move up to get a quarterback, if Trubisky's still there, to move ahead of the Jets or whomever. There's rumors today Walter Football had the Browns possibly talking to the Titans and the Jets about number 5 or number 6 to move up. And everything's silly season right now, but that's one of the rumors that are out there. So I think this pick is very much up in the air. Now, if the Browns do keep it, I would rather have them go with the best defensive player on the board. Browns need help in the defense. That's obvious, especially secondary.
Keep you in games and your offense.
Especially in the secondary. Now, I don't want the Browns to reach for a quarterback. I mean, if they can go up and if they want to get their guy, if they have their top-rated quarterback is there and they want to go get him, then so be it. We'll never know who's their top guy. But if they go up and make a deal, we'll have an idea.
Mm-hmm.
But if they stick here, I want them to get the best defensive player available. And I mentioned earlier that you could tell what the team might do in the draft by what they do in free agency, and they spend a lot of money on the offensive side of the ball this offseason. So I think defense is going to be big in this draft.
DeShone Kizer, do you want to elaborate on what you think of DeShone Kizer?
Personally, I think DeShone Kizer is a great prospect quarterback. I do not think he's the best fit for the Cleveland Browns. I've watched enough DeShone Kizer to know that he has the ability to be a good quarterback in the NFL, given the right circumstance.
Did you hear what Brian Kelly had to say about DeShone Kizer?
Well, Brian Kelly did a lot more damage to DeShone Kizer's
on
resume.
and off the field.
No, mostly on the field. Just the erratic play call. I mean, that's a Notre Dame fan saying the erratic play calling, the taking him out of rhythm. I get that, the whole thing. But DeShone Kizer's still a very raw talent. I mean, look, if you look at the quarterbacks in this draft, there's one quarterback that is legitimately pro-ready right now, and that's Deshaun Watson. Everybody else is a question mark. Mitch Trubisky, as much as we all love the local boy, 13 starts in the ACC, and he was good.
Pretty good. He was pretty damn good.
He was good, but again, how many of those 13 starts are the fact that he was still the new quarterback to the defensive coordinator that he was playing?
Maybe the head
The
coach
NFL
on North Carolina doesn't necessarily know talent as well as he thought.
Timeout. Then what does NFL stand for? Not for long. Meaning a lot of quarterbacks, their flaws are recognized pretty quickly in this league. Now, maybe Mitch Trubisky turns out to be the next Brett Favre, but maybe Mitch Trubisky turns out to be the next Jimmy Clausen. For all we know, that's the situation.
Ooh.
Wow. I'm telling you right now. And I'm not dogging on the guy because the guy's got a great arm. He knows how to play. He plays in a similar pro style. Very good. However, I'm with you, Josh. Don't force the issue. If you take a quarterback simply to take a quarterback, then you're already going to be behind the 8 ball. If you're at 12 and you make a move, now the Titans trading with the Titans makes a lot of sense because the Titans are looking to get out of where they're at because they know they can get more picks for 2018 than they can by having that pick. I just don't know if the Browns are in the position to trade away all the capital they have next year as well, because I think that's what it's going to take. It's probably going to take 12 plus a 2 either this year or next year.
Well, that's fine. I mean,
to move up 7 positions to take Mitch Trubisky. Like now you're giving up essentially 2 second round picks for Mitch Trubisky, who's only graded out at a mid second round level.
How many young players do you need on a team over the next 2 or 3 years? Like you have 22 picks in the next 2 drafts.
And they'll use some of that on USC quarterback Donaldson next year.
Darnold?
Oh, so I think we're getting a little teaser of what you think, Rob.
I don't think there's a franchise quarterback in this draft. I just don't. I'm sorry.
There's going to be one that's going to be
I'm
good.
not going to lie. I think
there's going to be one that's
going
to be good. Deshaun Watson may be good, but I don't think he's going to fit what Hugh Jackson wants out of a quarterback. I really don't.
I think he actually would fit pretty nice.
Really? He's an Andy Dalton type of quarterback? Because that's when he was successful.
I think he can get out of the pocket when he needs to. He has a good arm, accurate arm.
Is he worth
throw the ball down the field.
Is he worth trading away a second round pick plus 12? Is he worth that to go up? Because that's what you're asking. You're not, because the Jets are going to take a quarterback, and who knows what the 49ers are going to do. For all we know, Trubisky's gone at 2. And then what? That's a legitimate option at this point. We don't know what San Francisco's going to do.
At this point, I think the Browns need to take the best available.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think San Francisco. I know we're going to get into this, but I think San Francisco's waiting this out. They want to get Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
I mean, Kyle Shanahan's out there. Cousins is on another franchise deal, another 1-year deal where he's getting paid the top 5, an average of the top 5 in his position. It's clear that Washington doesn't want to give him the money, or else they would have done that by now.
Yeah.
I have to think that, at least from a quarterback perspective, they have Brian Hoyer out there really to kind of keep the seat warm, which is a great role for him.
Completely agree.
Makes sense, yeah.
And I don't see them taking a quarterback with their pick. I think the Browns. I mean,
I would just just before you go into that, my thought at 12 is they're going to actually trade up, but it's going to be for a defensive player like a Malik Hooker or Adams out of.
I'd like that a lot.
I could see that
too, actually.
They may trade up to say 6 or 5 or 6 with Tennessee, but with the intentions of taking a top safety. Now you have a top defensive end in Garrett and a top safety, plus all your returning guys from the defense. That's a pretty solid first round, in my opinion. If you're not sold on the quarterback.
Yeah, I agree. And I was talking to a guy at work. He stops by my office, and we usually shoot the breeze about the draft. And that's
water cooler talk. I like it.
That's exactly
how's the Browns draft?
That's exactly what he was talking about. Now he was in his scenario though. He's talking not even trading. He's talking about trading 12 and getting up there, but then having some way to. He had this worked out in a weird way where the Browns would have 3 first-round picks. Which, if you look at the draft chart, you can make that happen with what the Browns currently have just this year.
3 in the first 12, or did you just say
in the first round?
First round. Oh, sorry. Okay, I misunderstood you.
Or in this case, you move up, you get Hooker, and then if you really like Deshaun Kaiser, he'll probably be there at 32,
right.
or sorry, 33.
Or in the late 20s. Yeah.
So it really just depends on what from a quarterback perspective. Who do the Browns like? Who in relating who's their number? How important is their number 1 quarterback as opposed to anyone else besides Myles Garrett?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you want to try to get value for your 12 pick, or if Mr. Trubisky's ahead of Malik Hooker, and you think you can get Mr. Trubisky at 12, you're not going to make it. You're not going to do anything.
Yeah, because you could. I mean, you could legitimately have. Look, one of those quarterbacks is good. Possibly 2 of those quarterbacks are going to be gone by 12. I don't think 2 of them are going to be gone. I think one of them is going to be gone. I really do think that if you look at the chart, if I'm looking at the draft board and they have it ranked as quarterbacks, if Mitchell Trubisky's 1, Deshaun Watson's 1A. Or I don't think, like in previous drafts, when you looked at the year we drafted Richardson, there was Luck, and then there was Griffin, and then there was every other quarterback. In those similar drafts, there's always been there's the top tier, and then there's the rest. But there was a big gap between the 2 of them. I don't think that gap exists in this draft. I think Deshaun Watson may be the most polished, but he may be the nearest to his ceiling of what he can do. Mitch Trubisky may have a lot of upside, but are you going to invest a top 15 pick in a basic project quarterback? No, I wouldn't. If you can get a legit safety or use that to get up and get a game-changing safety, why not?
That's why what you're talking about, Sean, is what I'm thinking the Browns are going to do with the quarterback this year.
Mm-hmm.
I think the quarterback that they'll get in the 2nd, maybe even 3rd round, and that's either Davis Webb of Cal, or we just watched him on Gruden's camp. We just had him on TV. It was Nathan Peterman out of Pitt. Browns had both of those guys at the Senior Bowl and got to learn a lot about those guys. And we all know that Hugh Jackson has kind of a soft spot in his heart for the Pac-10, Cal, USC. He went with Cody Kessler last year. Davis Webb, 6'5", quarterback, very much developmental, but that's what the Browns may need this year. And I think that's the route they're going for. And with their first 2, 3, maybe even 4 picks going on the defensive end, maybe getting another wide receiver in there.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked there.
But I do like the idea if they're going to trade up, if not for a quarterback, definitely for a defensive player in the top 10.
I always wonder at which quarterback is going to slide in this draft far down. You always see one. It seems like, there's a lot of hype and a lot of talk, and you get through like the first 3, 4 picks, and all of a sudden
Mm-hmm.
You don't hear the quarterback's name.
Well,
I don't know which one. Mahomes is another guy from where is he? West
Texas
Virginia?
Tech.
Oh, Texas Tech. Yeah, and he's a guy that can run, but he has a pretty good arm and can throw the ball down the field a little bit. And a lot of guys like him a lot. I've seen him a little bit. I haven't seen a ton of film on him. I've seen some film on Kaiser, obviously Trubisky, and we know what we've seen Watson enough times, but I'm not sure what you get out. I think a lot of these guys, like we say, they're not completely polished. Obviously, in the NFL, they're going to work with them. You got to develop these guys.
Yeah.
But do you guys see one of these quarterbacks or even a player that might slide to the Browns in the second round? I mean, the Browns have the 33rd pick. I mean, do you see a pretty good, talented guy falling to them at the 33rd pick, or do you? I mean, we kind of talked about maybe trading the 33rd pick and packaging something up to get back in the first round, and that's probably it could be a good possibility. Obviously, it's tough to know what the Browns are thinking. They haven't given much
No team
on
has, really.
on the draft, and you really
Except for
can't.
the Patriots, but again,
Yeah.
the Patriots need another great running back or something
Well,
like that.
and speaking of the Patriots, the reason why I brought up the Jimmy Garoppolo thing is because the director of player personnel for the Patriots talked today in a press conference, and basically what he said, and maybe I'm taking it way out of context, but he said, we will do what's best for the team for the upcoming 2017 season.
Mm-hmm.
So if that means giving up their backup quarterback to possibly get a first, maybe the first pick in the second round pick for their backup quarterback that, the rumor is that the Browns really like, I see that possibly as a possibility. But that will not happen until draft day. Up until now, listen, it could be dead as a doornail for all I know. But I'm just thinking, from what I hear, my perspective is that possibility is still open. And if that is the case, that changes the Browns' direction in this draft wholeheartily. So I'm just saying, keep that in mind. Just keep it in mind.
A lot of things can happen.
You really
here.
want Jimmy Garoppolo in Cleveland, don't you? If only for a year, because there's no guarantee he resigns. There's no guarantee.
Oh, the Browns.
No.
He would really only come here if they
and
could
the
get
Browns.
He has no choice in the matter if he gets traded.
The Browns would not give up a ton for a good quarterback for 1 year.
They gave up $16 million for a second-round pick. You don't think they would?
They got a draft pick.
Listen, they could keep him and then franchise him.
They could.
And hey, the Browns might they can still
if
trade
he has a good year and
Osweiler.
doesn't get injured. Otherwise,
they're going to give him a
away.
chance. I don't think Osweiler's out of the picture for quarterback. I mean, he maybe he turns
He'll be on
around
the
here in
team.
Cleveland.
I disagree with you, Josh. I think he's on the team just because he would be the veteran that they would go out and sign after the draft anyway. He would be the type of guy that they would go out and sign. Now, granted, they traded for him, which didn't make any damn sense to me, but whatever. But I think he's on the team next year with Cody Kessler. I do. And whoever they draft, whether it be Trubisky, whether it be Watson, Kaiser, whoever they get in the second round in the third position. That way you're not forcing that guy to be – because I think if you draft a quarterback high, he automatically has to start. You have to understand that. Anybody in the top 15 that you draft at the quarterback position has to be your day one starter. That's the way it works.
I don't know
in the
about
league.
that.
Well,
Really?
you also and with Mitch Trubisky, you're also going to get the added pressure of him being the hometown guy.
And again,
Yeah,
he's
that's-
going to get paid. He's going to get picked in the first round. I just don't think he'd be a good fit for the Browns, but that's just me.
Yeah, I mean, is the front office ready to take that on? I mean,
Mhm.
because that's the front offices have been faced with a lot of other dilemmas recently. Obviously the Mike Pettin Farmer front office had to deal with the Johnny Manziel issue.
Yeah.
Manziel was an issue here?
No.
I almost forgot about that whole
and
situation.
no less, they, all the idiot fans wanted, and I will call most Chuck Booms specifically.
You're an idiot, Chuck Booms.
We have more airtime than him, though. Be honest.
We do. We,
Boom.
These are, although there are so many fans that wanted Manziel to play over the hometown guy who was leading a winning football team.
Yeah.
How's that going to be if you turn the other way around, where say Cody Kessler is actually having a decent season for whatever reason, and Mitch Trubisky's on the bench? I mean, is that going to be the same thing? Like, I don't know. I mean,
Yes.
Is the front office and the coaching? Like, I think Hugh Jackson will actually be okay.
Yeah.
I don't think he'll succumb to that. But is Jimmy Haslam going to be able to keep his hands away from the operations long enough to not have
I
to
will
deal
say,
with
though,
this?
I will say, if the Browns do draft Mitch Trubisky, that means the front office is very confident that they have time to be around.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
absolutely.
Okay.
I
They can
literally
fake that, but I
I literally think this regime was given 3 years to show that you can build
They
a team.
have to have it. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I
I'm
know.
sorry. They have to. Whether the Browns go 8-8, which would be awesome, or 2-14 next year, they still have to have time to continue to build. I mean, they broke this thing down.
Yeah.
And it was
yeah,
bad,
they-
and
to
it
its
still
bare
it
bones.
still is
I
bad.
mean, we said a lot of times with these guys, it's a rebuilding year, but this literally was a rebuilding
This is not
year.
rebuilding. It's building.
Yeah.
It's flat out building, and you need to do that, and it's going to be tough. But you need, I hate to say it, but you need to give it 4 or 5 years to see it through.
To develop these players.
Let these guys develop. Let's see how players develop on having, I heard Christian Kirksey on the radio today or yesterday, I forget what day it was, but saying that it's really nice to have the same coaching staff in-house, same strength and conditioning staff in-house, and not have that change. And they can come in and they can start building on what they've tried to build on last year. And that's what you need. And it's going to be rough. I mean, you should know after 4 or 5 years of building with the players and the feeling in the facility of whether or not it's going to work and to see improvement. Coming off a 1-15 season, you should have nothing but improvement.
Can't get any worse. If they get one win again, ouch.
Actually, it can get worse. They could not get a win at all.
But we're not going to go there.
Talk to me about the Detroit Lions.
We'll wait and see. The draft is next Thursday. Everyone, get in front of your TVs, grab a beverage, and enjoy the show. Guys, any last thoughts on the Cleveland Browns? Or anything in general? Ed?
I can't wait to watch the draft from Barbados next week.
Oh,
wow.
you suck. I get to watch it from Portland, Maine.
Nice.
I'm going to be watching it right here live in Studio J. And Ed, admittedly, are you going to be watching the draft?
No.
Oh, yeah, probably.
I know it's a beautiful sunset, honey.
Nice.
But the Browns are on the clock, so I'm gonna.
We will. My wife and I will have been there for 5 days.
Oh,
already
okay, yeah,
at that
you'll
point.
you'll be ready at
I
that
think,
point.
Nice.
I think a little bit of sports won't hurt anybody.
Sorry, Princess Leia. The force is strong with this draft.
That's right. It's going to be a lot of fun. Again, next Thursday, Browns number 1, 12-33. We're Sports on Tap, part of the NEO Sports Insiders Network. I want to thank everybody for listening. Hope you have a great weekend. It's almost here. Well, I won't talk to you before then, so enjoy the weekend ahead, and we'll see you real soon. We're Sports on Tap.